flat out all the way.
Well, unless we have a flat or something, that'd be the only way.
That'd be a disaster, though, in a 50-lapper.
Yeah, you'd have to go to the back, and I don't think you'd get back up here.
We don't want to see that. Good luck today. We've seen you run great here in the past.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Junior Hanley. And now, let's go to our pal, Paul Page.
Well, Brock, back here on the inside of the third row is the Chevrolet of Scott Hansen, ASA Hot Shoe out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. You're up here with some pretty fast company.
Sure are. You know, Junior really turned in a good qualifying lap yesterday, and you know, we're just going to try and get up there and run with him so we can get a good spot for next week's race.
All right, let's go over to Brock Yates.
Well, starting on the outside of the third row is one of the great racing veterans and certainly one of the finest short track drivers ever to run here at Nashville, Dick Trickle. Dick, a new race car, but the same old racetrack and the same old challenge.
Well, I'm really happy to be back here and, you know, run this qualifying race for next week's race up here. Last year, the Winston Cup schedule didn't allow us to get over here, and I was crossing my fingers for the last few weeks that Winston Cup wouldn't rain out so we could be here in Nashville, because this is definitely the All-American 400.
You love to run this deal, Dick. You got, you know all these guys. Who do you think's going to be trouble in this race, other than, of course, Junior? You know him.
Well, Junior's got he set out the pace and qualified way above the field, and it's kind of a V8, V6 program. I'm running a V6, which I think will shine come to 400, but next week. But probably in this qualifying race at 50 laps, it may not be the way to go. But I'm just hoping to get a good qualifying effort in here to get a good starting position to 400 next week, and I just decided to go to the V6, and I think come 400 laps, we'll be in good shape.
Okay, go get him.
Thank you.
Dick Trickle. Paul?
Back here, Brock, inside the sixth row, another Chevrolet Lumina. This belongs to Ted Musgrave. You got some traffic running up ahead of you.
Boy, I'll tell you, I didn't plan this one. We kind of missed our qualifying setup and kind of relegated us to the middle of the field. It's going to be tough to get to the front, but I think later in the race, the V6 will get up there.
What's the strategy?
Well, as hot as it is today with this V6, I think it's going to be a lot better than the V8. The V8s will take off at first, and I think we can catch them a little later on.
Okay, there's the prediction. Let's go over to Brock Yates.
Paul, starting on the outside of the seventh row, is one of the finest Winston Cup drivers in the business, a man who's come out of California to make a great showing in Winston Cup competition, yet it's his first time here in the qualifier for the TNN All-American 400. Ernie, these guys are fine short track drivers. I know you've run against a bunch of them, but it's got to be kind of fun to come down here and run this high bank half mile.
Well, I tell you, you know, Nashville's a big part of Winston Cup racing. Before I got started, you know, Darrell Waltrip is the king of Nashville, all I've ever heard. Always wanted to come to Nashville and race, and a perfect opportunity here with the TNN 400, and you know, come up here and race against a lot of guys that run Winston Cup with us, and you know, hopefully we'll run good enough so we can race in next week's 400.
Okay, we know you'll put on a great show. The best of luck, Ernie.
Thank you.
Okay. Paul?
Brock, back here on the outside of the ninth row is French-Canadian Claude Leclerc from the American-Canadian Trophy Series. In fact, has the most starts in that series. Boy, you've got a whale of a battle. You've got to fight up to the front.
Yeah, a lot of car in front of me, but I need a couple laps for eat the car, and after that, I try to going on the front, up front.
All right, so we're set to go. Let's go back to Steve Evans.
Well, thank you, Brock and Paul. It sounds like not only are these drivers ready to race, but they plan to have a darn good time doing it. We'll be back with the start of twin qualifier number 1 right after this.
The field is set on the main straightaway here at this big half mile at Nashville, Tennessee for the first of two 50-lap qualifiers for next week's 400-lapper. Steve Evans and Junior Hanley is on the pole, and he is also on a roll. He had a terrific qualifying time here, and it's going to be tough to beat. Everybody agrees on that.
Oh, you bet. Junior got around this racetrack in 19.121 seconds. And that converts to an average speed of 112 miles per hour, considerably faster down the straightaway. So Junior, he's really figured this old girl out.
He has. Remember, he came here last year, ran very, very well, and then fried a clutch in the big race when he was in the lead. So he definitely has a point to prove here. And at this moment, that 72 Chevrolet, he's got on the pole and very, very much the favorite here.
And this is one of the few big money short track races in this country or Canada that Junior Hanley hasn't won, and that's another point he'd like to prove he's capable of doing that.
But don't forget too, Steve, that he's got in a starting position on the front row assured next week. He's just running this basically to check the car out, get the race car perfectly set up, and also get ready to hopefully pocket a little extra money. Come to think of it, let's try to raise him on the radio.
Here, this is Brock Yates, Diamond P Sports. Do you copy, over? Go ahead. Junior, how's the racetrack look? Is there any rubber laid down out there in the groove, or is it going to be pretty green for the first few laps?
The track's really clean and it really looks good unless you go up high, and there's a lot of stuff up high.
Looks like you're going to have a one-groove racetrack for the start?
You don't want to go high at the start, but like, pretty well 3 grooves here.
Good luck.
Well, that's the best news you could possibly hear from a race car driver. Looks like there's 3 grooves here. Earlier, Paul Page had a chance to take a look at what's under the hood of that car.
You're looking at something that's becoming a little more prevalent in racing these days, Steve. These, of course, are mufflers. In this case, on Junior Hanley's car out of Ontario, Canada, the number 72 machine routed down the right side of the cockpit. Now, in older days, you'd think that they would rob some horsepower out of the power plant. Well, not so anymore. They've done a lot of research on these mufflers, and they actually are helping these motors perform. Take a look down here in the front. Here's some technology coming off of off-road racing through the Indy cars. The shock absorbers have a line over to the remote reservoir, which helps the suspension tremendously. And then say they don't like this V8 engine that right now they're using because they feel it pulls them off the corner better. It only takes about 30 minutes to mount up the V6 because they have engine mounts for both the 8 and 6-cylinder engines.
And any crew chief who still feels the mufflers hurt the engines, well, here they can tell him, all right, if you run a muffler and get it under 100 decibels at 100 feet, we'll give you a 50-pound weight break. They put the mufflers on real quick.
All right, the noise level increases here in Nashville. The green flag is out, and Junior Hanley leads him down the front straightaway.
Indeed, he does. Junior reacted to the hint of that green flag as they thunder down into turn number 2 and arc over into 3.
But look at the white number 8 right behind him. That is David Green from right here in Goodlettsville, a suburb of Nashville. A local favorite here. Has run well here in Nashville, and he is right on Junior's tail.
And we've got a race for that 4th position as well. Number 53, Scott Hansen, and 15, Mark Day.
And right behind them, the 99, the red 99 of Dick Trickle. Behind him, the 18 of Russ Erland, and the 6 of Rick Corelli. They are battling for 6 through 8 spots. So as the opening laps unwind here, we got a real struggle. That's 53, Scott Hansen, getting a little twitchy coming off turn number 4. Right behind him, the 15 of Mark Day.
And let's recall they're racing for the odd-numbered starting positions in next weekend's 400. Actually, Junior Hanley could have started this race and pulled into the pits and stopped and would still have the pole, but he's a little too racy for that.
All right, there's that black and lime green number 5 of Ernie Irvin trying to get around the 91, or underneath, I should say, the 91 of Tom Harrington for the 13th spot. There's Harrington in that blue 91. He has the high groove and manages to hold off Ernie. Ernie was a little concerned about this race car. He's a brilliant... Oh, trouble right in front of Ernie Irvin, the 16 car. That is Newt Moore spinning between turns 3 and 4. The yellow will come out, but Newt is okay. He doesn't touch anything. Irvin just about whacked him.
Oh, tremendous reflexes on the part of Ernie Irvin. I think he adopted that old adage you hear occasionally, point at it, and maybe when you get there, it won't be there any longer. That's kind of what happened here. Newt Moore, let's watch it one more time, just apparently got very loose. Watch him on the inside. That's the white 16 car. Nobody gave him a tap.
Notice we watch Irvin there in the black automobile, and right behind him, the 67 car, Gord Bennett, the blue automobile, do a good job of kind of changing lanes right in the middle of the racetrack. Remember, the cars are really set up, cornering hard there, and it's very difficult to make that move.
Well, here is Newt Moore, number 16, now at the back of the pack. Even though his tires might be a little bit square from that spin, he's not going to take the time to come to the pit wall. That would kill any position that he might have for next Sunday. Well, certainly the most anxious moment in that last incident was by that man, number 5, Ernie Irvin. Brock, give him a call.
Ernie Irvin, this is Brock Yates, Diamond P Sports. You copy, over?
Yeah, I got you.
Did you see anything, any of that tangle, or were you a little bit behind that, Ernie?
I was right on his bumper. He just got a little bit loose getting into 3 there, and just spun, and I just barely missed him.
How's the racetrack feel so far now that you're in actual combat?
Oh, these cars are real hard to see out of, but, you know, I'm getting used to it a little more, and right now the track's got a lot of stuff all over it, but it's getting better.
Hey, keep going. Good luck. Thanks.
All right, we got a restart coming up. The yellow flag laps did not count against the 50 total to be run today in this first qualifier. Junior Hand with the 72 car headed in to turn number 4 and a green flag.
And right behind Junior, the white 8 of David Green, the orange 45 of David Jackson, 53 Scott Hansen, and 15 Mark Day going side by side off turn number 2 and down the back straightaway. And that white 15 of Day manages to get by Hansen without great difficulty. And here comes Trickle in that red 99 around Hansen as well, Steve.
Trickle is in the 5th position, but let's take a look up front. David Green in the number 8 car challenging 72 Junior Hanley, the man who started on the pole and is running up front. And there's a big difference between these two cars, Brockgate. Junior Hanley has, well, state-of-the-art. David Green, he's got a much older car.
There's the race for 7, the 18 of Russ Erlin, and the 6 of Rick Corelli going at it as they head down into turn number 1. Now notice that the groove is getting a little wider on this racetrack. We're starting to see 2 cars running side by side in the corners. So, as Junior said earlier, this racetrack will open up perhaps to as much as 3 lanes.
Oh, absolutely. And as the cars start sliding higher and higher and higher, it just starts producing a higher groove. That happens on any high-bank short track asphalt raceway. The race for 4th place, 15 Mark Day with Trickle in 5th position. Dick Trickle with the V6 automobile does not have quite enough power out of the corners.
So Mark Day out of Clarksville, Tennessee, holding off one of the great short track stars of all time, 99 Dick Trickle, as they come off turn number 2. Trickle moves alongside. He's got the inside line. Can Day hold him off? Day stays high and makes that outside groove work. So Trickle, though, persistent, hanging on down low. They saw, Day got way high in turn number 1 there, and that gives Trickle the chance to move maybe a car length out front.
And right there we saw the advantage of the V6 automobiles, such as in the case of Trickle, Red 99. And there you saw the advantage of the V8. Right in the apex of the turn, it had more torque, more power right there. But when you really need to be nimble, you need the lighter weight, more responsive 6-cylinder automobile. And Dick Trickle has now taken that 4th position. Stay with us. We'll be back to Nashville.
Back in Nashville for the first of 2 50-lap qualifiers for next week's TNN All-American 400. And Junior Hanley and David Green continue to struggle for the lead. Jackson, Trickle, Mark Day right behind him in the 3rd through 5th spots.
And there's a terrific race for the 5th position. Tucking in those inside board is the multicolored car. Rick Corelli, that's number 6, machine out of Denver, Colorado. On the outside is a white 15 car of Mark Day. Trickle pushed Day back to 5th. Now Corelli pushes him back to 6th.
So Day faltering a little bit here after running very well in the early laps. But Rick Corelli all the way from Denver, Colorado. As we said earlier, most of these guys from either the Midwest, the Deep South, or up in the Northeast. But Rick came east to run this show. And he brought with him a really interesting operation in the garage area. Earlier, Steve had a look at it.
There is no more stunning appearing race car than the number 6 Chevrolet Lumina, driven by Rick Corelli and owned by Marshall Chesron of Denver, Colorado. Marshall designed all the graphics on that machine and also the incredible trailer that it travels in. Stock car racing doesn't see many like this. They travel so far from home and stay away. They've got to have it. Everything in its place. And these slide-out bends, they can stay on the road for months. Over here, all of their fueling rigs and welding equipment. There's no way we could show you inside every one of literally hundreds of cabinets. And up front, pardon the smoke here, but you know, a race team travels on its stomach. They're barbecuing outside. They've got a nice food preparation area here. If you're going to go this far, you might as well go all the way with the lounge up front. That's Roger Chesron, Marshall's dad, getting lunch ready.
But wait a minute, you might ask, where do you put the cars? Well, there's room for 2 of them on a second deck up above the cabinetry.
But there's not much room between the 45 car and the 99 car as Dick Trickle, the red 99, is on the move.
That orange 45 of Dave Jackson, he's out of Loveland, Ohio, currently riding in the 3rd spot. He's an ASA regular and coming really well, but he has got his hands full with the old pro. Dick Trickle, you know, Trickle's still hurting a little bit from that big crash he had earlier in the season at Watkins Glen. See, trouble on the back straightaway. Coming up, turn number 2, 38. Steve Seligman is spun. 90, Kent Stauffer's involved, as was the number 11 automobile of Claude Leclerc. There's Stauffer trying to get underway. Leclerc gets going, and the number 11, Stauffer having to wait for some passing traffic, but it looks like 38 Steve Seligman is parked. Possibly something broke. He may have whacked the wall hard enough to break something as well. So Seligman sitting in crossways in the back straightaway here in Nashville, and the yellow is obviously out. So we're going to slow things down here for a minute as here comes Stauffer for a tire change.
Yeah, he has to come into the pits. There's no question about that. To run the tires that are on that car right now would be, well, they'd be dangerous. The car would not handle properly, vibrate, do a lot of very strange things. As we look at this incident one more time, watch kind of the upper center of your screen. You'll see the 38 car, Steve Seligman, back it into the wall right there. Now, did Claude Leclerc and Ken Stauffer get involved because they saw him into the wall, or were they 2 separate incidents? Very hard to say just looking at this video.
Right. It looks as if Stauffer spins independently right behind Seligman. Well, let me see if we can find out a little bit more about the incident. I'll try to raise Claude Leclerc on the radio.
Claude Leclerc, this is Brock Yates, Diamond P. Do you copy?
Yes.
Claude, you were tangled in that trouble there. I can see damage on your right front. Is the race car all right?
I think I don't touch the suspension and I don't touch the wheel. It's only the hood and the front nose.
Are you worried about the bodywork coming off?
Well, yes, half a piece of hood is come out, but I think I would like to stay on the track for finish the race.
Okay, well, good luck. Thanks for talking to us, Claude. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, maybe what Claude has lost in aerodynamics, he will gain in engine cooling, Brock.
Well, you know, Steve, you and I can treat these little incidents pretty lightly because these race cars are really safe. As an example, you had a look earlier at John Benson Jr.'s automobile out of Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Johnny Benson Jr. may be a rookie in ASA, but his crew chief, Dave Taylor, he's no rookie when it comes to preparing a very safe race car for his driver. Now remember, the ASA cars, all the cars here in Nashville, have fiberglass bodies, not the metal bodies of the NASCAR cars you may be familiar with. But let's look inside. Like their NASCAR brothers, they have tremendous protection on the driver's side. 1, 2, 3, 4 steel bars on the left side of the automobile. But what if you were to hit a wall with a piece of protruding rebar or anything that could come between the bars through that very thin fiberglass and get to the driver? Dave Taylor has, between the bars and the body, put steel plating all through this area and way up into the foot box. He did it voluntarily. It wasn't in the rule book, but it will be next year.
Terrific idea and a great safety advance as the green flag waves and Junior Hanley comes down for the restart.
And Junior Hanley, 72, David Green, number 8, pick up right where they left off. But look at Dick Trickle. It's the red 99 car underneath the orange 45 car. Trickle has taken 3rd place away from Dave Jackson.
And right behind Jackson, that pink and blue, that wild-looking number 6 is Corelli. And he is right on Jackson's bumper as they come off turn number 4, head down the front straightaway.
Well, the orange 45 car of Dave Jackson appears to be just a little bit loose. Rick Corelli might be able to take advantage of that. Behind Corelli, 18, Ross Erwin, and Mark Day in number 15.
Well, Dick Trickle has broken loose a little bit from Jackson and is trying to reel in the number 8 automobile, the 2nd place car of David Green. And Green, meantime, continues to just dog Junior Hanley up front. So we got a great race for the first 5 spots in this event.
And especially right now for the 4th position with the orange 45, Jackson, followed by the multi-hued machine, mainly pink, of Rick Corelli, number 6. Russ Erlin in the 18 car, all going for that 4th spot.
look at this. The white number 8 and David Green almost got alongside Junior Hanley down the front straightaway. Junior responds down the back straight by pulling out about a car length lead down into turns 2, 3, and 4. Green comes in close. He seems to be able to get off that corner quite well, Steve, but then Junior's got a little more punch down the straight.
Absolutely. David Green has got to be the big surprise, the very pleasant surprise. He's an independent racer, doesn't race that much with any of the 3 organizations involved, and is dogging one of the very best ever in this sport, Junior Hanley, who is qualified for the pole next Sunday. Junior, who could park that car, as we said before, and still have the pole. I think he's having too much fun right now.
Well, he's got his hands full with David Green, I'll guarantee you. And remember, you said earlier, David's at the wheel of a pretty old automobile. It's got new body work, of course, but the chassis and the various drivetrain components are nowhere near as advanced as Junior's.
You'll recall all the things that Paul Page showed us on Junior Hanley's car, trick shocks and so forth. Well, they're not on the car running second, David Green, and he's right there. But look at this fight for 4th position. Orange 45, that's Jackson. Corelli still hasn't been able to take advantage of the loose condition, if it exists, in the Jackson car. And Russ Erlin, number 18, right there, a trio.
That white Erlin automobile right behind Corelli can't seem to make up a whole lot of ground. Those guys are kind of running under a blanket. They've run lap after lap in exactly the same position. But it could change at any moment. We'll be back with more from the Nashville Motor Raceway.
Nashville Motor Raceway for the twin qualifiers of the TNN All-American 400. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates and Paul Page. We are looking at lap 34 of 50 in this first qualifier. Still out front, Canadian Junior Hanley, the white number 72 car. David Green, the white with the blue number 8 on it, has made a tremendous race out of that. And now Dick Trickle joins the hunt. Here we can see the drivers from 1st down through 10th. But important also, who is in 13th? Number 91, Tom Harrington. And that is the last transfer position from this heat to next Sunday. He's a Tennessee driver that runs in the ASA. Where is Ernie Urban, NASCAR star? In the pits, Brock Yates.
He sure is, and they're going to raise the hood on that automobile, which implies big trouble. Ernie has not run well at all this afternoon. That car's been down on power literally from the start, and the crew poking around in there trying to figure out what the problem is.
No problem for Dick Trickle. He just thundered right around David Green and took the 2nd position. The red 99 car of Trickle, now second only to Junior Hanley, the white 72. And Green, the number 8 car, well, he's back there in the 3rd spot again.
All right, it's V6 versus V8. Junior in the bigger V8. Dick Trickle in the red 99 and the smaller V6. Now trying to move down to get into position to get underneath Trickle. Oh, he gives a little tap coming off turn number 4.
Ernie Urban is thrown in the towel and headed for the barn, but I bet we'll see him next Sunday in the field as a promoter's option, along with some other cars as well. They like big fields here in Tennessee, you know?
Well, they like big names, too, and he's a big one. As we watch the battle for the lead here among 3 cars, David Green moved back in to re-challenge 99 Dick Trickle on the outside. Meanwhile, Trickle tucks in behind Junior as they charge down the front straightaway. Trickle being very patient right now. He's not going to rattle old Junior. They're a couple of pros. They've run with each other for years and years and years. So Trickle knows that he's not going to jostle Junior around. He's going to have to get by him fair and square. And I'll tell you what, Trickle better watch out, because the man right behind him, David Green, is ready to pounce if either one of the front 2 guys bobbles at all.
Well, Dick Trickle is not going to out-muscle Junior Hanley. He has to out-maneuver him. Hope Junior bobbles a little bit and use the lightweight and the maneuverability of the V6 automobile to make it work. He tries him up on the high side, just not enough beam.
So, can't work, as Junior continues to, that race car gets wider and wider as it comes off the corners, as he sits down in that low groove, though. Junior likes to run high, and he can run high, but right now he's sitting in that low groove, and if you want to get around him, you got to take the long way around on the high side.
And Dick Trickle has already tried that once, found it non-productive, so doesn't like to do it again.
So we'll sit here, the 3 of them, just patiently waiting each other out as David Green moves right in on Trickle's rear bumper coming off turn number 2, but doesn't appear to have quite enough power to get around him.
Well, Trickle is really in a V8 sandwich here. He's the only V6 of this trio as they fly around this half-mile racetrack, and he's got more to worry about than just trying to pass Junior Hanley. He's worried about being passed himself.
Okay, Green gets a little high down into turn number 1, then tucks down low as Junior rides that middle groove all the way around this big half mile here at Nashville. Pretty high bank, but not quite high enough bank to run way up against the fence, Steve.
Well, it's one of those tracks, though, that's banked high enough that it really got the attention of any rookie driver. There's quite a few of them here. They all got big eyes who thought they were looking at Talladega.
All right, Junior Hanley pulls out a little bit, and look at this. Green challenge trickle down into turn number 3. Couldn't make it work, but he got almost, I'm sure. Oh, look at Trickle work that wheel. Trickle's car maybe getting a little bit loose in the corners here.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you, this is just a terrific dogfight between 3 different drivers with different styles and quite different automobiles. And all of this may ultimately come down to how do these race cars handle. And Dick Trickle's car appears to maybe be getting a little loose. He wishes he could change the shock setting, but no can do in this heat race. Earlier, though, Paul Page explained how these racers can adjust their suspension systems.
Well, Steve, they've done a lot of changing in technology on shock absorbers lately, and this is borrowed from the Indy cars and Roger Penske. Now, normally on an Indy car, they only need about 1.5 inches of travel here on the shaft. These cars need a good 3 inches of travel. But the technology that they're using is the remote nitrogen gas reservoir. And what it allows is quick adjustment of the compression of the shock absorber. Numbered from 1 and higher increases the compression on the shock absorber. And what does that mean to racing? Well, it means that during a pit stop, all I have to do is yank off the wheel and then reach right up here to the reservoir, and I can make a substantial change in the handling on the car.
Well, Paul, I would imagine there are a couple of guys out there, including Dick Trickle, who would like to get into the pits for a quick little adjustment, because Trickle is loose. There's no doubt about it, as we watch him continue to challenge Junior Hanley for that lead spot.
You know, Brock, as we'll watch this trio, I think they're all getting a little bit loose. They have run so hard that they've abused their tires just a little bit. Here's the race for the 4th position, and they're bobbing and weaving a bit too. Dave Jackson, 45, being chased by Corelli and Erlin. But this is the race the fans are watching. Junior Hanley, 72. Dick Trickle, 99. David Green, number 8.
And Green continues to dog 99. Dick Trickle tries him now on the high side and moves around him into 2nd place. Great move on the part of David Green.
Oh, yeah, he took advantage of his own V8. Now he's going for Junior Hanley. He's got V8 power. Maybe he hasn't abused his tires quite as hard, but no, Hanley holds him up. Trickle falls back.
Trickle obviously having some problems as David Green goes way up high in turn number 1 to try Hanley one more time. Now, David Green showing some real muscle here in the final stages of this race as he goes high again, comes alongside Junior Hanley down the front straightaway.
And the 2 of them touched. I guarantee it. David Green and Junior Hanley got together. Green started to pass Hanley. Hanley would have none of it. And Trickle has moved around Green as he was straightening him back out to take that 2nd spot.
So what a tussle for the lead, and David Green, unfortunately, was the loser in that little struggle as they came in the last lap, as they came right down here. They got together, and Junior Hanley muscles his way into the lead. He's on the last lap, and one final chance for Dick Trickle to get by him.
Well, as David Green found out, Junior Hanley could be very possessive about that position.
He wasn't about to let anybody by as he comes down to take the victory here in the first of the 2 50-lap qualifiers.
Well, and I'll tell you, that 50 laps featured just about everything you could hope to find in a short track stock car race. And we've got another 50-lapper to come that features, well, every bit the talent we saw in this one. Stay with us from Nashville. Qualifiers for the TNN All-American 400. Junior Hanley wins it. The Canadian Trickle just barely got in for 2nd. David Green thought he was going to win it for a second until he ran into the side of Junior Hanley's car. And then we're going to see the places all the way back through 10.
And you can also hear the fans a little less than pleased about their man David Green, the local boy, finishing 3rd. Tom Harrington in the 91 automobile in the 13th spot. He is the last car to transfer to next week's big race. But right now, let's go down to the front straightaway, and Steve Evans, who's with the winner of this first 50-lap qualifier, Junior Hanley.
Well, there's the man who will start on the pole for next Sunday's TNN All-American 400 as the crowd roars. Junior, that was inspired driving when you consider you couldn't improve your position a bit.
Yeah, we were a little loose in the car, and so I couldn't go up high, so I had to stay low, you know.
It had to be fun to see an old pal in the red car, Dick Trickle, again in your rearview mirror.
Yeah, Dick was right there, and then I think he must have messed up, and the other guy got by him.
That's an old rivalry, though.
We're still friends.
That's great. Terrific. Again, great job, and we'll see you on the pole next Sunday.
Thank you very much.
Junior Hanley. And now let's go to Brock with second place.
Steve, Dick Trickle ran a good stout race, moved up and got on Junior's bumper, and then just couldn't move by him.
Well, we got up there and we're in contention pretty good, and I was adjusting my rear brake bias in the car, and I shut the switch off, and I dropped back about 6 car lengths, and I had to come back and catch him again. But the car went to just a little bit of a push there about halfway through, and if it would have stayed like it started and went into a push, I think we'd have had the race. But we got a good starting position next week, and we'll be starting second row inside. And
that's really all you wanted, right?
Yeah, and I got a car that's good. The V6 motor, it's a Wagner engine out of Wisconsin, and it's just running real good. The car's handling well, and I think I was averagely the quickest car on the racetrack, and that's what you want to be.
Got to feel good. Congratulations, Dick. Good job, Paul.
Here's third place, Dave Green. That was quite a run.
Yeah, Junior was fast. I knew, he's going to be the guy to beat, and we kind of paced ourselves there, and he was slowing up in the middle of the corner, and Dick got around me when I was trying to get around Junior, so I waited the last right there and had 2 good shots at him and let off on it. And then right there at the end, I got up, real close to him, wheel to wheel so he could see me. And I don't know, I guess he just didn't see me over, and we about got into it, but it all worked out good. But, he ran a good race, and I'm looking forward to next week's race.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Fine work for the young man from Nashville. And now let's go to Steve with Ernie Irvin in the garage area.
Well, in case you think Ernie Irvin just came in to drive the 5 car, we're watching the man adjust the valves. After what went wrong, Ernie, in that heat?
Well, we lost a cylinder, and we're trying to find out where it's at. Pulled all the plugs out. They all look good. And
push rods are all on it?
Yeah, everything's all on there. So we're doing a little valve adjustment, see if we got a push rod that's bad or something like that.
If you'd have had that extra cylinder, would have made a big difference.
Well, we had it there the first part of the race, and the leaders backed up to about the same speed that we were running. So we're in pretty good shape to, transfer into next week's race. But as it was, with 7 cylinders, just couldn't quite keep up.
Well, let's hope you find it. The search continues. Brett?
Well, Steve, I'm with Claude Leclerc, the very popular Canadian champion who had some problems. I talked to you in the race, Claude. You said maybe not so bad. You thought maybe the suspension would be all right, but the car didn't work so well after the crash, huh?
After the crash, the car started pushing. With the no hood, you start pushing, and at the same time, the tires work pretty badly.
So next week now we got some time before we have the big race. Do you think you can be ready for that, or what are you going to do?
I think I take the plant. I finish on the top 5 on the ECT tour, and I think I take the plan, and I will be ready for next week.
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claude.
Bye.
Always ready is the French-Canadian Claude Leclerc. All right, well, you've just seen half the talent that's here at Nashville Motor Raceway today. The other half, the second 50-lap qualifier, is coming up. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Nashville Motor Raceway and today's coverage of the twin qualifiers for next Sunday's big TNN All-American 400. Well, the first qualifier is in the book, and if you missed it, shame on you. What racing between Junior Hanley and Dick Trickle. Hanley won it. He will start on the pole next Sunday. Now, as you can see, heat number 2, again, 50 laps, is already on the grid. Now, the first qualifier, that established the inside or odd-numbered positions for next Sunday. This one will establish the outside or even-numbered positions, 12 cars to transfer. Again, let's go to Brock Yates and Paul Page to talk to some of the top drivers. Gentlemen?
Well, on the pole, it's a number 98 Ford. Belongs to Jody Ridley, but you're the only Ford in about 8 positions now, and you got a whole pack of Chevrolets around you.
Well, they're all good cars, and we got a whole different situation here today. The weather changed on us. It's been cool all week, so we already got our spot for the 400 next week, so we're just going to use it for a test bed today. But I tell you what, I got some good cars behind me here.
Did you learn anything from watching that first session?
Well, I learned what I already knew. It looked like the 6-cylinder is going to come on after about 25 laps, and Dick come on real strong there at the end, and I look for that to happen here today. We got to carry that extra weight, and it tells on us a little bit down the corner here. But in the hot weather, if we get a cool day next week, it'll be a different deal. But it's kind of went like I expected to.
All right, Jody Ridley is set to go. Let's go to Brock.
Well, Paul, starting on the outside of the front row in his second heat in this beautiful black Lumina is a very popular driver from Detroit, Michigan, an ASA regular, Harold Fair. And Harold, we've seen you run so well here on so many occasions, but still that big victory's eluded you. But I know you're looking for a good performance in this 50 lapper to check this race car and this racetrack out for next week's 400. What do you think?
Well, you're right, Brock. We come down here and we had the right setup in the car right from the beginning. We've done some testing with the cooler weather, with the sun out, and we think we've got her figured out. But this 50 lapper will tell us a lot.
We sure will. Well, we'll be watching. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you during the cautions.
Yeah, I hope we're there at the end, one of them three at the back when you interview us.
Darn right. Congratulations. Good luck, Harold. Okay. Paul?
Here on the inside of the second row, Brock, is the number 52 car, the defending champion of the 400, ASA champion Butch Miller. What are you going to do today? What's the strategy?
I wish I had some strategy. Basically, I'm going to work on a setup for next week's race. You know, this race is a real good test as to what happens in a long race at Nashville. And, you know, we're going to probably run 50 laps on the same set of tires. You know, we've got to see what happens.
All right, Butch is set to go. Let's go on to Brock.
Well, Paul, starting on the outside of the second row, is a newcomer here to Nashville, but a fine driver from Canada, from Oshawa outside Toronto. He's run with the ACT series for a long time, Randy McDonald. And Randy, I know you've heard a lot about the high banks in Nashville. What do you think after a few practice laps and now that you're facing this event?
Well, I don't know. I've watched the TNN All-American 400 on TV at home for the last 3 years, and it's real exciting to be here. I don't know who's more nervous, me. I got up front here with Harold Fair, Butch Miller, Jody Ridley, or them, because they don't know who Randy McDonald is. I finally made it on Diamond P Sports, and nobody can see my face, so I don't know what to say.
Well, let's hope we get a chance to look at you in victory lane. We'll see you in a few minutes anyway.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, all the best. Randy McDonald. Paul?
Well, Brock, back here on the inside of the fifth row is another great legend in racing, Bob Seneker. Bob, you got a lot of traffic in front of you.
Well, this isn't the spot I intended to start, but we've had kind of a rough weekend getting the car going, and this is where we wound up in the fifth row. But we've been working on this Troop Motorsport Chevy, and I think we might have her dialed now for this race. It's better at the last practice session than it has been all weekend.
Changing weather conditions, you've been working on the car. Is there a strategy on how to get around these boys?
Well, no, it's just a matter of staying out of trouble and hoping they slow down enough where I could just drive around them the easy way.
Bob's ready to put his foot down and go. Brock?
Well, Paul, starting way, way in the back, in fact, way farther than he ought to be, from Pearland, Texas, is Greg Davidson. And Greg popped a motor in qualifying here, and that puts him in the scratch position, or almost in the scratch position to the back for this second 50 lapper. And Greg, we know that you can run real strong, but your work's cut out for you, 50 laps on a half mile like this to move up to the front.
Sure, Brock. We're going to have to take our time and work our way up. The track is real kind of rough on tires, so we don't want to use them up too quick.
So you got to pace yourself a little bit, stay out of trouble, and just keep picking your way through the traffic.
Yes, sir. We just need to break that top 12 to set up for next week's race.
Okay. Well, the best of luck, Greg.
Thank you, sir.
Field's ready, Steve. Let's go.
Well, you heard soft-spoken Bob Seneker in car 84 tell Paul Page he didn't mean to be this far back. Well, the nice thing about this format is all he's got to do is win this qualifier. He'll have an excellent starting position for next Sunday. Stay with us. We'll be back with a green flag, the final qualifier of the day.
Back in Nashville, that 99 car we just saw finish second overall. Practice for that big road race earlier in the season.
He says the worst part about all that is he can't wear his good old comfortable cowboy boots. We'll be on board in this qualifier with Butch Miller, car number 52, Chevy Lumina. Remember, Butch Miller has won the big race, the TNN All-American 400, the past 2 years. Next week, hopes to make it 3 in a row.
Remember now, 13 cars will advance to the big event. 98 Jody Ridley, he is assured of a starting position on the front row, but I would imagine, like Junior Hanley, he'll run the distance, not only to pick up a few extra bucks, but of course to run that car in and make sure the chassis setup is absolutely perfect.
And of course, also in this field, Paul talked with him, is Bob Seneker. Seneker, for all the years he's run ASA, this year finally won the overall championship.
Tom Jones, one of the ASA regulars, as is Steve Burgess. Gary St. Amant had a lot of problems here when during qualifying, but a fine runner in the number 7 automobile.
And all the drivers this far back, well, they hope for a good starting position next Sunday. Remember, all of these drivers are qualifying for outside positions, even numbered spots. And you can bet all of them were standing somewhere where they had a good vantage point for that qualifier number 1. And looking at the racetrack, they may have deduced that there's a better line now, a little more rubber down. You may be able to go a little bit higher, more productive up on the banks, which was not the case in the early laps of the first qualifier. Now remember that young Randy McDonald from Canada, he says, man, here I am. I'm finally in the limelight. My face is all covered up. Well, everybody back in Canada, there's Randy. He's really here. That good-looking rookie has not let the big half mile in Nashville intimidate him one bit. Brock, I understand you've got Jody.
Jody Ridley, this is Brock 8, Diamond C. Do you copy, over? Yeah, I got you. How's the racetrack look after that first 50 laps? The guys lay any rubber down for you?
Well, it looks pretty clean, but you can't really tell. You know, the weather changes on us today, and it's hot, so I think it's going to be a lot.
Worried about your tires, are you, for 50 laps?
Yeah, you know, we're going to run this 50 lap, and we got our spot already locked in, so we changed some stuff this morning, so, you know, we're going to use this to see what we got for next week.
All right, good luck. Best of luck, Jody. We'll be watching you.
Thank you.
Well, Jody confirms the fact that tires will probably not be a big problem here. But as you know, the competitors can sometimes get some really wild tire combinations which break the rules. Earlier, Steve had a look at how they detect such things.
In my hand, I have the latest sneaky device that the stock car connection technical detectives use to catch the bad guys. See, the rules say you can't do anything to soften up the specification Goodyear tires, like make gumballs for qualifying quick or the last few laps of an important event when you really want to go fast. Now, with this used tire, I put some gasoline on it, and nothing softens them up any better than that. And this sniffs out any combustible gases. Tire's okay here. It's okay here. Now, right where I put the gasoline, busted. This is also used by automobile mechanics to find leaks in your air conditioning system. All in all, pretty handy tool.
Science marches on, but will it ever catch up with the cheaters? That's the big question.
Well, I'll tell you a guy who's pushing the rules right now. That's Harold Bear. Look at him out in front of that field looking for the green start. He is famous for being very alert on starts and restarts. And indeed, it is Harold Bear jumping out first, and the starter waves the green. He bought it.
Boy, I'm surprised. Harold really jumped the gun on that one and put Jody back in a second place. And right behind him, the white automobile, the 01 of Randy McDonald. As we watch Butch Miller at the wheel down the back straightaway, he is up amongst the leaders in this mob scene. But Harold Fair has about a 10-car length lead at this point.
But Butch Miller in the red 52 just did take that third position. Again, you're on board with Butch Miller. We heard him pre-race say, well, I'm just running this qualifier to get a setup for next Sunday. When he gets out there in this kind of competition, he'll try to win every time. You can bet on it.
You remember Greg Davidson, way in the back of your screen there. That's a 96 in red automobile. He is chasing the 46 of Bill Zardo and the 27 of Bruce Heidenreich, and he is in 23rd spot. Greg just doesn't seem to be able to get the handle on this race car, and although he's a fine runner with the all-pro guys down south, Greg, I'm afraid, is in for a long afternoon because of the race car.
Well, here is the Chevrolet of Harold Bear, number 81, followed by Jody Ridley, the Ford, number 98. And here is Butch Miller, who has the two of them in his gun sights right up ahead of him.
Well, there's Harold Fair now still holding off Jody Ridley in that orange and yellow 98. Jody continues to kind of move in on him, but look at Glenn Allen Jr. in that green and white 66. He is underneath Butch Miller and is going to move ahead of him.
When we first started doing this kind of competition, Bruce Allen Jr. was only 16 years old, couldn't make a lap without spinning the car. Talk about improvement.
That's right. Glenn Allen has shown an awful lot of progress, and there he is moving ahead of Butch Miller as Butch sits in that fourth spot. Up ahead you can see Harold Fair, and then Jody, and then Glenn Allen Jr. There's a race for a sixth spot, the 12, Steve Burgess. Randy McDonald in the 01 has fallen back considerably. He has not shown the kind of power that he had in qualifying. Right behind him, the 5 of Jeff Neal. Then there's Crawford in the 14, Billy Bigley Jr. in the 28, and 84 Bob Seneker has not been able to move up significantly either, Steve.
You know, Brock, if you live in a state that has a state lottery and you see the commercials, what you could do if you won the lottery, well, Jay Summers won the lottery in Michigan back in '88, collected $6 million more or less. And what did he do? Well, he went stock car racing. He had a bit of a spin in practice. Is now being chased by number 78, Gary Bradbury. Jay Summers currently in the 15th spot.
In that red number 10, Jay Summers. And I'll tell you what, Steve, as we go back to the race for the lead between Harold Fair and Jody Ridley. Ridley challenging on the outside. And just one warning to Jay Summers. I've seen a lot of guys run through $6 million in this sport, so be careful, Jay.
But Brock, you know how to make a small fortune in auto racing.
I give up.
Start with a big one.
Words to live by. As Jody Ridley has the lead now over Harold Fair. That's Butch Miller. We're riding over his right shoulder as he now holds on to the third spot, having gotten by Glenn Allen Jr. But you can see he's got a ways to go if he's going to move in on Harold Fair in that second spot.
You know, Butch Miller came here in practice with a Chevrolet V8. He later changed to the V6, which is now in the car. And here goes number 96. He is out of this thing. The car just wasn't making any progress at all. Might as well park it. Back with Butch Miller again. He liked the V6. He seems to think that the lightweight is an advantage towards the middle of the race. Your tires are just in better shape.
You can see that Butch is slowly edging in on Harold Fair. Ridley up there holding on to the lead, but as they head down into turn number 3, you'll see Butch Miller work that wheel very hard. Short track racing is tough.
Not for a millisecond will that steering wheel ever be in the same position. Right now, Paul Page has a report on the first driver to fall out.
Well, Steve, here's Greg Davidson's Buick, number 96. Started up in last position. He pulled in. They pulled the hood up on the machine. Have been looking over some, looks like to be venting water on the right side of the engine. They're going to make an attempt to get it fixed and get him back in the fight. But right now, the leaders are screaming past about every 20 seconds. It doesn't seem like he has much of a chance.
And here at Nashville, every 19 and some odd seconds, you go a lap down. So if they're going to get it out there, they better do it real quickly. Let's watch the 84 car of Bob Seneker. He's starting to make his move. He picks up Rick Crawford, puts him in the 8th spot, and now trying to get around the 12 car of Steve Burgess. That will put him in the 7th position. He got him.
So Bob Seneker starts to move here, but he's got a ways to go. Remember now, 13 cars advance as we head toward next week's big All-American 400 here at Nashville. We'll be back with more qualifying race action right after this. Down the fairway. So both Ridley and Butch Miller now starting to really dominate this event.
And you know, we saw no traffic whatsoever in heat number 1 because of the yellow flags. We had 2 yellows that bunched the field up. Haven't seen a single caution so far.
Okay, there's a good view of Jody Ridley's rear bumper from the vista of the windshield of Butch Miller in that red 52 automobile. Miller just kind of hanging in there. Miller is a very cool driver anyway, Steve. He never tends to charge for the front. He all of a sudden just kind of appears at the end of a race, and oftentimes at victory lane. But right now, he is really stalking Jody Ridley on a relatively clear racetrack.
And in that last onboard shot, in fact, let's look again. He is busier now than he was earlier, which can only mean one thing. It's a little looser on the racetrack.
Right. Possibly tires going away on him a little bit, but as you said earlier, that V6 engine with the less weight on board could be an advantage in the later stages of this race.
And you can also tell by the audio from this car that Miller's crew has taken advantage of the 50-pound weight break using the muffler.
All right, there's the 98 of Jody Ridley riding the high groove. Jody likes a higher groove here at Nashville than some of the other drivers, and you can see there as he sits up higher than Butch. Butch tends to sit down in that low groove, and Jody a little bit higher on the racetrack all the way around here, and he sets his race car up to work like that here.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, you're looking at 2 of the best drivers in this kind of racing as far as chassis setup. Jody Ridley out in front of Butch Miller, and Miller himself. In fact, Miller drove the same car for, almost 4 years before anybody could catch up with this technology.
As they sweep by the number 71 automobile of John Wilson, putting him another lap down. These 2 guys have now pulled well away from Harold Fair back there in the third spot. As they move up now on the number 6 automobile of Mike Wallace. Mike in that red car down low. One of the Racing Wallace family from St. Louis. Of course, Rusty the best known, but we've also seen other brother Kenny run well here in Nashville in the past.
But we're back again with Butch Miller, and he just doesn't appear to be making a lot of progress on Jody Ridley. I'm sure he hoped that he could get Ridley maybe stuck behind a lapper and make a move to the inside or the outside, but not so. But one guy who's trying to get off of a bubble is number 10, Jay Summers, trying to get around 28, Billy Bigley Jr. If he can do that, he'd move into 12th and get a little insurance as far as transferring, and he did it. All right, now he's 12th, and he's got, well, one spot pushing.
So that still, though, is the pressure spot for those two drivers because one bobble and they're out of the big race next week. And look at this. Butch Miller has taken that low side and worked his way up almost to the front. In fact, he noses out in front of Jody Ridley using the low groove, but Jody comes back at him as they head down into turn number 1.
Tremendous competition between two drastically different automobiles, the big V8 Ford and the V6 Chevy Lumina. Boy, I tell you, the rules makers know what they're doing in this sport, Brock. Tremendous parity.
Well, they're side by side, and you'd almost think that because the V6 is lighter, that it might work a little bit better up high, but Jody, with the heavier V8 Ford, is hanging on, doing a super job on the high side here as Butch Miller ekes out about a half a car length coming off at turn number 2. There you can see Butch and no visibility whatsoever at Jody's 98, which is off on the right side.
Oh, yeah, but he's right there. Now he can see him because on the straightaways, the V8 Ford has the muscle and pulls out maybe a half a car. But in the turns, as they are right now, the 52 car, the lighter V6 Chevrolet, equals that up.
Almost exactly even here as they sweep around this racetrack nose to nose. Great race here as we watch Butch Miller charge one more time toward the finish line, and Jody pulls out one more time that lead down the front straight. That's where that 98 has the advantage, Steve.
And Harold Fair laying back there in the third spot in the 81 car. He's saying, boys, have at it. Just take each other out. I'm here to inherit any good fortune.
Well, we no doubt remember last year when Jody was taken out in a similar situation right near the end of the big 400. So it's perfectly possible to get into traffic and have a problem. These guys are on the ragged edge.
In fact, all three of our top drivers were involved in that incident just 4 laps from the finish of last year's All-American 400. It was Ridley who crashed, Harold Fair crashed with him, and Butch Miller came through the wreckage to take his second win. We'll be back for the closing laps of heat number 2 here in Nashville.
You're riding with Butch Miller as he chases Jody Ridley in the final stages of the second qualifier here at Nashville. I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans and our pal Paul Payne as Ridley, Miller, and Fair have broken out from the rest of the pack, Steve, and continue to dominate.
Well, any driver who is not in the top 3 right now would love to see a caution flag, a little debris on the racetrack where they can catch back up. This has been all green flag racing so far. And there is Butch Miller making another move. You saw from the cockpit. He darted down low under the Thunderbird of Ridley.
Great race by these two guys, just hammering on each other. No body contact, and just really clean, absolutely classic short track racing here between two evenly matched cars and drivers.
And you consider that Jody Ridley, no matter what happens, is going to start outside of the front row next week. Butch Miller has a little something to gain by finishing up, and they just love to do this.
Well, they love to do it. They're great competitors, and they're also paying a lot of attention to what this racetrack is doing to the race cars and to the tires, and you can be sure that a lot of input is going to go into the car and chassis setup for next week.
Oh, sure. They'll be studying things like fuel economy because, as Butch Miller said, 50 laps is kind of like a portion of next week between tire changes and fuel.
Interesting observation by a very perceptive young man. Butch Miller, one of the most knowledgeable of the race drivers in this kind of competition, as is Jody Ridley. Jody Ridley's car is always beautifully set up.
All right, back in the 4th position, wishing they could get a yellow, as I said earlier, number 66, Glenn Allen Jr., and 84, Bob Seneca. Seneca is just kind of doesn't have quite enough muscle to just blow these guys away. Here he sneaks around Glenn Allen Jr. after following him for some laps.
Glenn Allen Jr. hardly giving up. A little bobble there coming off turn 2, which gives Seneca a big advantage down the back straight. You know, we've talked repeatedly about the importance of tires. But earlier, our rating expert, Steve Evans, had a look at a really unique application.
You know, over the years, old tires have been used as safety barriers at racetracks around the world. Still are today, even at very sophisticated Formula One circuits. But I got a little bit of a mystery here in Nashville regarding a tire. Now, that tire protects the driver should he get over the wall and he won't hit this big light pole. But nowhere is this tire cut. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg, the pole or the tire? It would seem that some far-sighted lighting contractor many years ago knew what he was doing and planted the pole right down there in the tire. And over the years, it also has become a delightful planter.
We seek out the tough stories here on America's Sports Cavalcade. No question about that.
Oh, that's right. Always look for the poison oak in the infield. All right, we're riding with Butch Miller, and he's got the same problem he did before. It's called Jody Ridley. The car just up in front of him. And Miller right now is falling back just a little bit.
Yeah, he has, as they've gotten into some traffic, but now Butch charges back. And don't forget that black automobile, that 81 of Harold Fair. He is right there. So those three automobiles have bunched up a little bit as they come down the front straightaway.
And the lap cars in there, number 77, that's Mike Kelly. The red car, 46, Bill Zardo. And 15, Jeff Purvis. To give you an idea where these drivers are in the race, 77, Mike Kelly, is in the 15th position.
You just saw Butch Miller wave at one of the lap cars, just saying thanks for moving out of the way and letting me through. Good sportsmanship on the part of all these guys. Very clean driving. Nobody blocking the faster cars. And believe me, it can really get crowded down there in the corner, Steve. And it's mighty tricky stuff, weaving your way through. And it's also hard on the slower guys and the slower cars because they got to watch their rearview mirror all the time.
Sure, and they're racing for position as well, especially if you get back to that 12th and 13th spot. That could be the difference between running next Sunday and not. And, you know, traffic in short track racing, being sprint cars on dirt or stock cars on asphalt, always adds an extra dimension to it.
It sure does. And he can get jammed up in it and lose a position, as happens right now. Butch Miller tucked underneath Jody Ridley in that jam up of lap traffic and got by to take the lead.
You know Jody Ridley would rather have passed those cars on the inside, but Miller was inside him. He couldn't get down there. Brilliant driving on the part of Butch Miller, and he continues to thunder.
As he moves around the 77 automobile, the ASA driver out of Wisconsin, Mike Kelly.
And here for second now, it's Jody Ridley and Harold Fair. They're also now having to get around the 77 car of Mike Kelly, that red machine. He's been a player even though he's running back in the 15th position.
Okay, there goes Jody around him, and Harold Fair follows him as they come off turn number 2. Harold Fair sitting back in the 3rd spot out of Detroit, Michigan, one of the real old pros in ASA and one of the most likable guys on the circuit. As he dodged Jody Ridley now, Jody's fallen back a little bit. Could be tires, very possibly with that heavier V8 engine starting to wear out those right side tires on that car.
And no matter where Jody finishes, it doesn't benefit him one bit. A few dollars in prize money, but not as far as next Sunday. So who's to say? Maybe says, Miller, you got it. All right, Butch Miller, number 52, goes on to the last lap, the last of 50. He has put on a tremendous show, especially he and Jody Ridley.
All right, relatively clear racetrack ahead for Butch Miller, but not so for Harold Fair. He's got the man, number 98, Jody Ridley, right between him and the possible victory. There it is, the checkered flag. Butch Miller wins the second of 2 50-lap qualifiers here at Nashville.
And Jody Ridley hung on to second. Harold Fair was unable to do anything better than 3rd spot.
So a good, solid race, an excellent racecraft by Butch Miller, who laid back for a while, took advantage of traffic, slipped by Jody Ridley to take the victory here. Now, you all remember when Steve was puzzling about that pole and tire in the infield. Well, Paul Page found an even more puzzling mystery.
Well, here's what I can't figure out. Look at this tire. It's not cut anywhere. Now, racetracks all over the world use tires like this to protect important and valuable objects at the racetrack. Now, somebody here had incredible foresight. I can't figure, it's a chicken and egg sort of deal. Did they put the tire here first and then go down through the middle of it? Or was the object here first, and then did they put it over the top? But nevertheless, all around the world, you'll see tires like this used to protect valuable objects like that.
Well, Brock, I noticed it wasn't Page being protected by the tire, and I think that's appropriate.
Well, we're still trying to figure out how your tire and pole got into the infield, Steve.
I'm trying to figure out how the piece got on the show. It was just a little practice for the cameraman, you know?
All right, as we follow Butch Miller down pit lane, we'll be right back to talk with him and the other top finishers here in the second qualifying race. Stick with us.
For the day here in Nashville, so let the celebrations begin, especially Butch Miller, who won qualifier number 2, followed by Jody Ridley, Harold Fair. Bob Seneca just couldn't get any better than 4th, and Glenn Allen Jr. a very respectable 5th.
Okay, in 6th place, Tim Steele, Steve Burgess 7th. Gary St. Amant, a good runner in the number 7 automobile, finishes in the 8th spot. But perhaps the most important of all the finishers is the number 78 car of Gary Bradbury. He finishes 13th, thereby qualifies for next week's race. Now let's go to Steve with the winner.
Well, Butch, I got to tell you, if all the races were held in Nashville, you'd be richer and more famous than you already are.
I like Nashville. It's been very, very good to me.
What match racing that was. Oh, the laps in the 30s with Jody Ford versus Chevrolet.
I don't know. Jody's got a real powerful Ford V8 in that thing. And we've got a little tiny Chevy V6. And I could run through the corners. We handled great. I could run through the corners, all over him on the corners. And he'd step on that big motor going down the straightaway, and he'd just dust me.
Yeah, but you had the weight advantage. Maybe that's why he was handling so well in the corners. Let's be fair about this.
Oh, I just want to cry a little bit. I don't want to tell about the good things.
Well, you got to feel real good about making it 3 in a row here in Nashville next week in the 400.
Boy, I hope so. Things are looking up now.
Oh, boy, he wasn't grinning like that this morning. All right, let's go to Paul Page in 2nd place.
Well, Steve, here's 2nd place. Jody Ridley climbing out of the car. Yeah, a little fight going there.
Well, it was a good race. We learned something today. Basically like I thought it'd be. I had to fuel up the 6-cylinder and get off strong, but a little bit messed up on the start there. The guy wouldn't let me even get up with him. The man ran out and dropped the flag anyway. I couldn't understand that, but as it turned out, we got the lead back, and Butch just, we got up that lap car, and they wanted to obey the move over, and he kind of got me boxed in. But he run good. He probably a little quicker than I was, but I think I held him off.
You actually looked like you were running pretty equal with him.
Yeah, it wasn't much different, me up high, but, I knew it was going to be trouble. Those guys wanted to obeying the move over flag, and I just happened to pick the wrong spot, look like. So
welcome to a small place, huh?
Yeah, right.
Let's go back to 3rd place and Brock.
Well, Paul, I'm with Harold Farrow. Ran with the leaders all day long. Didn't have quite enough to move up on Butch and Jody, but you sure had a good view of the race.
Well, wait a minute. I thought I was the leader. Everyone talks about my restarts, and I was leading there for a while. What happened? Oh, Brock, the car got a little bit loose, and I just kind of conserved and let Jody and Butch go there for a little bit and then tried to get back with them, but kept getting looser, and we kind of anticipated this, but I guess you got to use your head a little bit more. So we'll go back, and we'll get it ready for next week.
Good. Congratulations, Harold.
Thank you, Brock.
For sure. Okay, let's go to Steve with Bob Seneca.
You said you wanted to move up, and once you got a little bit of racetrack to play with, you did, from 9th to 4th.
Yes, I was held up there for quite a while, but when I broke loose, the car seemed to stay the same the whole race for me, and gradually I could see the leaders coming into view. We just didn't have enough laps. I guess we needed a yellow flag.
When you get blocked in like that, you've got to stay calm. You can't get anxious. You're just going to hurt yourself.
Well, especially at this track, it's kind of narrow, and if you start pushing yourself too much, you're going to get into one of the fences and tear some cars up.
Do you find yourself looking up at the starter stand coming out of 4, hoping he'll show a passing flag to all those guys in your way?
Yeah, most of the guys we run with are pretty good, though. They just see us coming, they move out of the way.
Good luck next week.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, let's go to Paul Page.
Well, a little battle damage here at the back of the car, but Jay Summers, you make it into the race, you got to be pretty happy there.
Oh yeah, real happy. We crashed the car earlier today, and the guys flogged all morning to get the car ready. We just barely made it.
How about the run itself? Any problems?
No, just a little loose out there. Everybody was sliding around a lot. I just knew I had to stay it smooth and bide my time and keep the tires on the car, and we'd finish right up in there.
Just keep it in the right place, and you're there.
That's right.
Well, you've made it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now imagine, take all the talent and wonderful automobiles we saw today and put them in one big race for a whole lot of money for 400 laps here in Nashville. You'll have the